Hello, this is Business Time, and my name is William Kumwembe. This is a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And in the program today, the International Monetary Fund approves RCF disbursement for Malawi. We speak to Resident Representative Farai Gwenamo to find an insight on what this means to the forex-starved Malawi. And also in the program, inflation rate hits 26.7%. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome. In our main story in the program today, the International Monetary Fund IMF board on Monday approved the disbursement of $88.3 million under the Rapid Credit Facility program for Malawi. The facility is under the IMF's new program, Food Stock Window, which is expected to address the country's urgent balance of payment position. The country for quite some time has been starved of foreign exchange as there are mismatches between demand and supply for forex, with imports pegged at about $3 billion per year, while exports only attracting about $1 billion per year. What does the $88.3 million mean to the local economy, and what does the program entail in as far as cushioning the pressure the country has been facing lately? These are some of the questions that our journalist Daonga Sabola posed to Farai Gwenamo, who is the country manager for the IMF.
As far as the debt restructuring is concerned, the Malawian authorities have, in May of this year, they engaged debt advisors, and working together with their debt advisors, they have been engaging their key creditors, commercial creditors and official bilateral creditors. And on the basis of those engagements, a debt strategy was indeed submitted to the International Monetary Fund, and the process is ongoing, the engagements are ongoing, but for the purposes of the Rapid Credit Facility, it was the assessment of the IMF Executive Board that we could proceed on the basis of that debt restructuring strategy. That said, more work will follow in terms of the engagements between Malawian authorities and their creditors. Let me clarify that the PMB, the Staff Monitored Program with Executive Board engagement, this is similar to the Staff Monitored Programs that we have had in the past, which does not involve the board in terms of approving the program itself. What is different this time around is that the Executive Board is informed in as far as the program conditions are concerned and the implementation of the program is concerned, but that they do not actually approve the program. This is approved by the IMF management. So the board is only involved to the extent that they are informed of implementation of the program. So that said, how this is the limited involvement of the board is going to help in the case of Malawi is that there are several policy commitments that the authorities made under this PMB, and those policies have been communicated to the board, and it is the board's assessment that if implemented in full, the policies would help to restore macroeconomic stability and help kickstart the recovery of the economy. So this, as I already said, the Executive Board approved RCF financing, and alongside that they also discussed the PMB, which is the Staff Monitored Program with Executive Board involvement. So the implementation of this program will be monitored by the IMF staff, and the conditions under the program, as I said already, that there are certain policy commitments that the authorities are committed to. So this is really the idea behind is that implementation of the policies under the PMB are going to help the authorities to build track record towards an upper credit tranche facility such as the ECF. So at this stage, we cannot say much about the status of the ECF, but what we can confirm is that the PMB is a tool that is going to help the authorities to build track record so that they do have the proper frameworks in place to implement an upper credit tranche program such as the ECF. Well, there are a lot of elements that will come into play, and it's upfront we cannot say when exactly the ECF would advance and so on. But just to say that at any point in time the authorities do have the right to request to switch from the PMB to an upper credit tranche program if the conditions permit. So there are no strict rules on when that transition would happen. Of course, it depends with our engagements with the authorities and the progress that is being made on the implementation of the PMB. I will answer it in broad terms, really focusing on the type of commitments, policy commitments that the authorities made under this program in order to correct the imbalances that we have in the external sector, including the foreign exchange market, as you rightly said. So under this program, among many facets of policy commitments, the authorities have committed to rebuilding their official foreign exchange reserves. So under this commitment, there are several elements that come into play, the foreign exchange market, and so many other issues. So I would leave it at this high level to say that under the program there is commitment to ensure that there is restoration of stability in the foreign exchange market. Exactly how that will be achieved, these are details that are sort of beyond the scope of this briefing, but we would be happy to discuss further and perhaps refer this issue to my colleagues at the IMF HQ. Thank you.
Now, Malawi's headline inflation, the rate at which commodity prices change at a given time in an economy, hit 26.7% in October, according to figures from the National Statistical Office. This means the pace at which commodity prices increase seemed to be at relatively faster than the case same time last year. According to the figures from the National Statistical Office, this is a 1.2% increase from 25.5% recorded in September this year. Our journalist Justin Kweo caught up with Bechan Cheleni, who is the economics professor at the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, to digest the situation and project the outlook.
Inflation rate has hit 26.7%, the highest in 9 years. The last time we had this kind of inflation was in June 2013 during the Joyce Banda era. Now, this means that for the past 9 years, we haven't had inflation skyrocketing to this margin. What does this mean? What does the future hold? What is the cause of this, and what can authorities do? I'm joined by Dr. Bechan Cheleni, who is an economist from the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Firstly, just enlighten the viewers. Maybe some might be wondering what exactly inflation is.
Look, when we talk about inflation, we are looking at the general price increases. So you are looking at the rate at which prices in general are increasing. Maybe they're increasing, maybe they are going down, but in general we look at the increase. So what you do is you have a number of commodities, you bring them in maybe a basket of some sort, and then you are saying, let's find out the average at which all these prices are changing. So then you get the inflation rate. So you're looking at the price of food, the price of maybe industrial commodities, maybe utilities. So you bring all that together, and then you try to say that, okay, fine. So when we bring all this together and we look at what is happening, so is it that the prices are rising or they're going down? And then you also go into the basket itself. You want to look at who is actually the major culprit, who is doing this mostly. So like in the current, we know that it's because of food inflation. Food inflation has been on the rise. Maybe in Malawi, the major is the staple is maize. And so yes, if when the price of maize is going up, it also will be pushing the prices in general up as well. And also we have seen, like in the past a month or two, price of diesel going up,
Yes.
and that also will lead to other prices also going up. So, but the major one in this case, it's actually the food part. So food inflation has been going up quite worrisomely.
As you have indicated that food is the inflation that has been pushing, is the part of inflation that has been pushing the headline inflation, the
Yes.
overall inflation. But then you have also further indicated that the staple grain for Malawi is maize,
Yes.
which is produced right here in the country. We have we have maize flour right here in the country. What is it exactly that makes steel prices to increase? Well, we have maize and maize flour, which is the staple food for Malawi.
You know, look, we talk about subsistence farmers. Food security in Malawi is in the hands of subsistence farmers. You can't actually say that we are dealing with the food security issues with that, because the subsistence farmer think about themselves, and most of them, they don't even have enough for them for the entirety of the year. And this is where the mega farms aspect does come in. But then it's not only the maize part, there's also wheat in there. We don't grow our own wheat. Most of the wheat is actually imported into the country. Cooking oil, there are very few companies that are making cooking oil in Malawi. Even them who are actually doing the cooking oil, they are having to import the seed cake from elsewhere, and then they simply will do the distilling in here, and then they have the cooking oil. So you can see that as much as it is about imports, it is also about production issues. We're not producing enough for the people. We're not producing enough for export even. And some of the food items that we need for bread, for mandasi and others, we are having to import that. So the cooking oil, most of it we are having to import. So when you bring in all those things, you can actually begin to say that yes, I think food is really under pressure. Remember, the population of Malawi has been rising. We are now 20 plus million against the same pieces of land where we were growing food to feed maybe 10 million people or 6 million people in the past. So we really have to follow to go into modernity. So mega farms is actually one of the ways through which we are going to go that model. Right now, actually, fish has become more expensive than chicken or even red meat. Now, when you consider that, you also note that most Malawians, their diet is in fish, dry fish and others. But that is also rising. It's just following what has been happening already. So we are, it's issues of demand versus supply. The fishermen are actually able to give us fish, but they have not been rising in quantity. Yet the stomachs that need to be filled with fish are actually rising as well. So that is becoming to be a problem. Now, that also is coming to be a problem because the rate at which we are depleting meat, right, is higher compared to the rate at which we are having new, livestock, cattle, be it pigs, be it goats, be it chickens. So we are also running into a danger in that route as well. So food inflation is actually under pressure to be rising because of production issues. And I think that this is where the solution is. It is not a monetary thing, like I've always argued. Yes, issues of money do come in. The Reserve Bank can do its part in that area to say that let's control the demand for money, but pretty much you can control the demand for money. People may not have the money in their pocket, but it will remain the case that people do not have the food. People do not have enough food. So with or without money in the pocket, the price of food will still go up because that food is not there.
Remember, this is Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And moving on with the program, Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Culture, Michael Usi, says the country's tourism sector remains the next big thing if Malawi is to realize aspirations embedded in the Malawi 2063, the country's development blueprint. He was speaking at the weekend when he presided over a graduation ceremony for Malawi Institute of Tourism. Usi says if we invest heavily as a country into the sector, we can yield the most and make tourism sector the possible forex earner. Justin Kweu has the whole story.
Figures indicate that by 2019, the travel and tourism sector contribution to the Malawi gross domestic product, GDP, was at 7.7% or $600 million. With Malawi facing problems of foreign exchange scarcity, which is slowing down economic activities, such money can heavily help. Usi believes while the sector contributes in such a manner to the GDP, it has the potential to contribute more if supported and put to good use. He's of the view that the sector needs professional and qualified workers on top of having policies that give it support.
The tourism industry is very, very critical in as far as Malawi's development is concerned. The tourism sector has been a sleeping giant. Now to see that this time around we have what we call the Malawi 2063 and also the Malawi Tourism Investment Master Plan, which in themselves are giving us a guide as to how we should manage tourism. We focus on the human capital. Who are the people that are going to make sure that we realize the goals set therein? Therefore, they have to understand that their excellence in service delivery, in thinking, in research is very, very critical to the development of Malawi. So quality human capital is what we are looking for. Quality human capital is what Malawi needs. The human capital that is not corrupt, the human capital that is genuine, the human capital that is a beacon of hope. This is what we need. And that's why I was encouraging the graduates to be beacons of hope, to give hope to Malawians. They are educated, and education is a gateway to prosperity, and we expect a lot from them. You see, Malawi is mad with instances of corruption. Now, to avoid the unfounded allegations, speculations, we need to conduct audits. In that way, we know the truth. And also, it does help us, it does assure us that we are relevant to the cause. How relevant are we? How are we adhering to the principles of accounting? How are we adhering to the principles of governance? So all that to be done, we need to have evidence by way of asking professionals to conduct such services, other than just speculating, or in that ministry, that department, people are stealing. In that ministry, in that department, people are embezzling funds, or they're not working very hard. So we need evaluations, we need assessments, we need audits. This is what is going to help Malawi move forward. Thank you.
Have you set a time frame for that to happen within the ministry?
No, my technocrats will do that. I'm just driving a policy, so my technocrats will sit down and do that. Malawi needs that. Development is not just a haphazard program, it has to be managed. And for it to be managed, you need to know what you are doing. So it's not only the minister, it's everybody. You know, social media these days can just wake up and just throwing stories on the social media, and people think that is true or that's not true. Evaluations, audits, or forensic audits will help us achieve what Malawi needs the most.
Malawi Institute of Tourism is a training institution for hospitality and tourism players in Malawi and beyond. MIT Executive Director Isabel Chakumbila asked government to expand MIT campuses so that more people are trained.
What has happened, the MIT originally had only one campus, and that is the Blantyre campus. We are telling the Honorable Minister that the Blantyre campus is very small, as you see it. It's in the central business, very limited space. We cannot expand. So in 2019, we built 3 campuses. One in Nilongwe, near the 5-star hotel. The other one in Zuzu. We are renting behind National Bank in Zuzu. So we are asking government to construct the teaching facilities. For Zuzu, government is already doing construction. with funding from the African Development Bank of the Mzuzu Lodge. But what we are telling the Honorable Minister and government is to construct the teaching area to complement the Mzuzu Lodge. Because as you heard, ours is a vocational training institution. So what we do is to offer more practical-based lessons. So we wanted government to finish or expedite the construction of the Mzuzu Lodge, but also to commence the construction of the teaching area. For Lingazi, we are asking government to construct a training campus, but also we are asking government to upgrade the Lingazi Inn, which is the biggest application hotel for the Malawi Institute of Tourism. I should mention that MIT has got 3 application hotels: Alendo Hotel here in Blantyre, Lingazi Inn in Lilongwe, and also Mzuzu Lodge, which is under construction now in Mzuzu.
Malawi is a country full of tourist attraction sites and hospitality facilities such as freshwater lakes, mountains, national parks and game reserves, among others.
Now, in other business news, a latest report by the World Bank indicates that only 24% of women in the country own land solely for cultivation across the country. This is against the background that the proportion of women working in agriculture sector is 59.6% compared to that of men. The report shows that most land is inherited, owned and operated by men. Wes Gausi has the whole story in this report.
The report shows that land is inherited, owned and operated by men in Malawi. 33% of plots owned by households are owned by men, 43% are owned jointly by men and women, and 24% are owned solely by women. Agricultural expert Taman Konumvula says the report has revealed the truth about land ownership in Malawi. He, however, says the development is sad as women are kept at a disadvantaged place to develop themselves agriculture-wise. Meanwhile, the report said several studies imply that women farmers' relatively lower levels of productivity can be explained by lower levels of education and input use.
Well, that story also brings us to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Stay safe and bye for now.